Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and I figured, why not? Might as well, come on, full screen, there we go. Okay, this is going to be part, 10, I think, of Volume 1 of reading Ascendance of a Bookworm. Someone actually mentioned to me, dang it, I'm trying to fix this stupid thing, that they actually enjoy me doing it, and I was like, really? I didn't comment that, but I was just surprised because I didn't think anybody actually enjoyed listening to these. And how far have we gotten? 129 of 236. Okay. So, 107 more pages, essentially, before we finish this book. We're still stuck on we're not even we're barely over halfway through volume 1. That's sad. Okay, let's continue with the story. Long live Mesopotamian culture! Today's the first day I'm going in the forest on my own two legs. Rather than my usual tote bag and stone slate, I had a basket, somewhat smaller than everyone else's, makes sense considering you're still not as strong as them, on my back, and a spade for digging into clay, though it really just looks like a wooden spatula. I get the feeling that the wood spatula thing would be less reliable than a children's toy made of plastic. But maybe that was just me. As I swung the flimsy spade around, expecting it to break any second, Dad grabbed onto my shoulder. He was no doubt about to repeat the same lines I've heard 1,000 times since he decided to let me go to the forest. Mine. Today you're going to go into the forest and come back. Nothing else. Everyone's going to be tired and weighed down. You need to rest in the forest and aim to come home with everyone. Understand? Yeah, because they're not going to be able to carry her if she gets tired. Because they're going to be all carrying wood and stuff, yeah. I understand, either because my answer wasn't enough for him or because he could tell how annoyed I was getting by his repeated warnings. Dad looked at Thule with a grim expression. Thule, I know it's going to be rough, but I'm counting on you. Talk with Lutz and make sure mine will get home before the gate closes. Right, I'll make sure we leave early today. Thule's always been overflowing with a sense of responsibility, and Dad's reliance on her was igniting her determination. She would probably be a bit strict today. Yeah. We went outside and met up with several other kids, all carrying similar baskets. There were about 8 of them, some about as small as me, some big and tall like Thule and Faye. The pink-headed Faye took the lead while Thule watched the back. I started off walking at the front, but by the time we reached the gate, I was in the back. Yep, knew it. Alright, mine, let's go. Walk as slow as you need. I could walk to the gate on my own easily, but it was my first time walking all the way to the forest. Thus, Lutz was following along as my pacer. Over the 3 months that he walked beside me from the gate to home, Lutz had apparently Wait, what? The fuck? Hang on. Had apparently memorized the best speed for me to walk without pushing myself too far. The fact that I could walk so far lately was largely thanks to his help, and today, Dad was actually paying him a little to keep his eye on me. Thanks, Lutz. Hey, it's the least I can do to pay you back. Lutz's house had recently taken care of all the paru remnants they still had. Perus could only be harvested in the winter, and apparently they went immediately bad once they got warm. As a thanks for all their help, and as a sign I wanted to keep up our cooking relationship, I taught them how to make a not-quite okra hamburger, known as a Peru burger. I took a palm, which was a fruit that looked like a yellow bell pepper at a glance, but tasted like a tomato, and turned it into a sauce, which I then covered with a layer of cheese. The combination brought out the Peru's gentle, sweet flavor so well, even I ended up surprised. Incidentally, first Lutz and then all his older brothers actually cried afterward. They were sincerely thankful for how I had not only given them delicious food, but more food than they normally got to eat. From their mom, even their mom Carla was extremely thankful, since my recipes were easy on their budget. I can imagine that their Engel coefficient was off the charts with 4 hungry boys clamoring for food. I'm just glad I could help them. Why didn't you tell us about those Peru burgers during the winter? You need fresh meat to mince it like that, right? And it was really hard to mince it in the first place. Who knows what would have happened without all your help? Really? That was pretty rough, but we'll do anything for your food, mine. Yeah, oh boy. I didn't have the strength to keep chopping the meat until it was all minced up, and I couldn't ask Mom to do it knowing how difficult it was. I hadn't been able to eat anything like a hamburger in so long I felt really lucky that Lutz and his brothers were willing to make some with me. We walked all the way to the forest while chatting. It was so much fun that I managed to walk such a long distance without stopping, but the exhaustion after we got there was overwhelming. I sat on a somewhat large rock and just focused on recuperating energy while everyone else went gathering. Worried about how heavily I was breathing, Lutz patted my back. Remember, Faye and Thule's baptisms are coming up. You gotta get used to walking to the forest real soon. Why? I knew Thule's baptism was soon given how we'd spent the winter making clothes and her hair ornament, but I didn't understand what specifically would change after it happened. Once a kid gets baptized, they start apprentice work, right? That'll mean for about half of each week, you'll be the only one in your family who has time to go to the forest, mine. I opened my eyes wide in surprise. Thule's starting apprentice work meant I would have to help around the house more in her stead. What should I do? I didn't think about that. Past mine managed to live this long without doing anything since Thule was such a good older sister that took care of her. Without Thule, I probably wouldn't be able to survive. Well, that in the past, Thule hadn't had her baptism yet, so I wonder if past mine would have survived with Thule having her baptism or not. I don't know. Lutz cackled and rubbed his nose as he saw the blood drain from my face. Hey, don't sweat it. I'll always protect you, mine, whether Thule's there or not, 'cause you're so small and weak. Wow. Way to rub it in, Lutz. Lutz was too kind. He's had that kind of manly attitude ever since I first met him as mine. Thanks, Lutz. I'll be counting on you. Yeah, I'm gonna go gather firewood. Sit there and rest while I'm gone, alright? You don't want to be too tired to go home. Lutz left it at that and went to get firewood. Once his footsteps faded into the distance and there was nobody around me, I grabbed my wannabe spade and started digging a hole. My goal for today was go to the forest and get home, try not to catch a fever. I knew that. But although I felt bad for Lutz and my family, could I bear coming to the forest and then just leaving without doing anything? No, I couldn't. Dig as far as you can. I wanted sticky clay, but who knew how much I could get? Assuming the ground layer here was similar to Earth's, I'd need to dig fairly deeply to find sticky clay. Hiya! I thrust a spade into the ground, putting all my strength into it. But the flimsy branch my family called a spade didn't even go a single centimeter into the ground. So hard. It's even impossible to dig into this. It felt like trying to dig into the packed dirt of a sports field. I'd expected the ground of the forest to be moist and soft, but reality couldn't be more different. Was it the ground's fault or the spade's fault? The answer was simple. Yep, it's a spade. The spade I was holding was a far cry from the ones I was used to. If only it were at least made of metal, not wood. Yeah, she probably would have been able to get more if it was metal. But alas, regardless of the spade being wood, regardless of how hard or soft the ground was, giving up was an option for me. I just had to keep digging bit by bit, even if my progress ended up being pathetic. Scratch, scratch, scratch. The flimsy branch of a spade scraped the ground away bit by bit. It took a lot of strength and determination to dig out sticky clay. It would take a lot more than a single day to finish this. Somehow I get the feeling making tablets out of the clay would be hard too. I could only pray that it would be easier than making faux papyrus. Scratch, scratch, scratch. After digging about 5 centimeters into the ground, I could hear someone approaching. What are you doing, mine? Lutz, both hands filled with gathered twigs, opened his eyes wide in shock after seeing me sitting on the ground digging with a spade. Didn't you promise not to do anything that would tire you out? I remember the promise we made after I left home, but I couldn't resist digging for the clay that was right in front of my eyes. I intended to stop before Lutz came back, but it was hard to quit after getting started. Oh, what should I say? I could fool Dad with a hug and a smile, but Thule had specifically assigned Lutz to watch over me. There was no fooling him. If I tried, he'd just narrow his eyes and interrogate me further. I knew that from experience. Well, what? Lutz furrowed his brows, put his hands on his hips, and looked down at me. The interrogation had started. I told you to rest. Why won't you? Or why aren't you? What are you doing? Digging a hole? Lutz's intimidating pose and aura of anger overwhelmed me such that I accidentally let the truth spill out. I mean, Lutz is scary when he gets mad. If things go bad, I won't make it home before the gates close. I can see that. Why were you digging? I thought answering honestly would do the trick, but Litz's anger just multiplied. I felt his gaze get a lot colder. Groaning fearfully to myself, I looked up at Lutz. Well, I want sticky clay. Huh? You want what? Lutz tilted his head a little bit in confusion. It seemed like the confusion had dimmed his anger somewhat. I want, a ground that's heavy, bad at draining water, and all clumped together. Sticky. If that's what you want, you'll find more of it over there where there's not much grass or trees. It was true that it'd be more efficient to search for ground where plants weren't growing, since too much water actually made it harder for them to grow. Good thinking, Lutz. Thanks. Hey, stop, mine. I tried moving over there immediately, but Lutz grabbed the back of my neck and pulled me back. He was incomparably bigger and stronger than me, so I had no way of escaping. Yeah, you were not getting away. Your job today is to rest, remember? Did you not hear me? What's so important that you gotta dig for it right now? Lutz followed up his neck grab by pulling my ears. I wailed while flailing my arms around. Ow, ow, it's something I really, really want. But it's not something we can eat or anything, so I can't ask Tuli to get it for me. I glared at Lutz with tears in my eyes while rubbing my ears, which made him falter a little. He must not have expected me to argue back, or maybe he was just surprised to see me get so stubborn about something when I usually didn't. My raw instincts told me to not let this opportunity slip me by. Are you saying you'll dig for me if I rest? I'll dig for you once I finish getting enough firewood, so come on, mine, rest. His unexpected answer made me freeze up. I could only stare at him, stunned. Although I had led the conversation in the direction, I had to wonder if Lutz understood what he was saying. Rather than helping me make my clay tablets, he should focus on gathering as much as possible for his family. Lutz, I appreciate the thought, but shouldn't you, focus on yourself? You're too weak to dig for clay, so I'll do it. But in return, tell me what you'll use the clay for. What do you want to do with it? Why? I can save time and avoid wasted effort if I know what you want to do. Come on, look, you were digging in the wrong place for what you wanted. I can't argue with that. It was true that even with a clear goal in mind, I struggled a lot. Due to me not knowing what things were called in this world, not noticing that things looked different here from what I had seen in my Urano days, and not having access to the tools I needed. Thanks to Les firmly pointing out my error, I knew that he hadn't said he would help without thinking, but I didn't know why he was willing to help. It made me feel weird. Why are you willing to help me, Lutz? Huh? You made those Peru cakes for me when I was real hungry, right? That day I decided to help you with whatever you needed, no matter what. Huh? Just that? You'll help me dig out clay just for that? To be honest, it was hard for me to understand Lutz's willingness to perform hard labor for me, but maybe he was just the kind of person who cared a lot about repaying gratitude. If he wanted to help, that was fine with me. I felt kind of bad about it, but when it came to matters of strength, I would leave everything I could to him. Okay, Lutz, I'll leave it to you. I can just wait here. Alright, I'll be back in no time. Lutz really did finish picking up firewood in no time. He then led me to ground with poor water drainage. It was a lower point in the forest with slanted ground surrounding it. Should be around here. Lutz took the twig-like spade I brought with me and started digging with it. Mine, thinking about it, why'd you even bring this spade with you? You never intended to keep our promise, huh? I was just so excited to go in the forest I just accidentally brought the stuff I needed with me. Lutz flinched a bit and flushed the spade hard into the ground as if to release his burning emotions. Sheesh, you look all nice and sweet on the outside, but I can't let my guard down around you. Actually, I think you should let your guard down a bit more. Why do you have to be smarter than Dad? Mr. Gunter is just too soft on you. I could only watch silently as Lutz used his anger to dig. Somehow the twig was steadily making progress through the ground. Unlike my scratching, the ground was getting flung away chunk by chunk. Well, Lutz is a lot stronger than you, mine. Hello? Kind of, be given there. It was so weird, I couldn't understand it. Is he just that much stronger than me? Duh! Is he holding the spade differently? Is there some trick here? Wait, is it just me, or is the ground a different color now? After Lutz dug about 50 centimeters into the ground, it changed colors. Is this the stuff you want? I grabbed some of it and tried squeezing it in my hand. It was cold, heavy, and changed shape inside of my hand. This was definitely the sticky clay I had been looking for. This is it. It would have taken me days to dig this far. You're amazing, Let's so strong. There's not a guy alive who's not stronger than you, mine. Despite sounding peeved, Lutz kept on digging up the sticky clay. Giddy with excitement, I brought chunks of the clay and set them on top of a large rock, bit by bit. I wonder how many clay tablets this will make. That alone made me grow terribly fond of this clay, as silly as that sounded. So, what do you need this stuff for? I'm gonna make clay tablets with it. Clay tablets? Uh-huh. I took the clay acquired through Lutz's hard labor and squished it in the shape of a thin tablet. I then grabbed a nearby tiny stick and started carving it in a Japanese bedtime story that my old mom had told me. I would have preferred to write in the language of this world, not Japanese, but Otto was only teaching me words that had to do with work. I could write the basic template for a letter of introduction. If you've already learned your letters, couldn't you still write it? Hello? Because if you already know your letters, all the letters in this world, then it shouldn't be any problem for you to write actual words, right? Or is it different here? And I could write out various things related to noble offices, but I couldn't write words related to my basic daily life. Are those letters you're writing? Uh-huh. Basically, if I write something down here, I can remember it later just by reading. Written records are amazing, don't you think? And books are just filled with those written records, so they're even more amazing. Wow. Lutz, thanks for digging up this clay. You really saved me. If you still need to gather stuff, go ahead. I'll be sitting right here and writing. Alright, you better stay still. I was writing a story aesthetically similar to The Elves and the Shoemaker, Isekai Edition. Isekai Edition. It was such an epic tale that even if I packed each clay tablet with letters, I would need 10 to tell the whole story. Yay, I finished! Upon writing the last word and settling things with a climactic fin, I was struck with a sense of overwhelming accomplishment. Wow, clay tablets! I finished the clay tablets! Oh, great and mighty Mesopotamian culture! May you live forever! Oh, boy. We all know what happens in the anime, everybody, so here this comes. I would be finished for real once I heated the tablets on our hearth, such that they wouldn't break. I squeezed my stick and turned around to see the other finished tablets I had stacked on top of one another. Gah! I slapped my hands on my cheeks and screamed in a way that made me the spitting image of Edward Munch's The Scream. What I saw before me was so unbelievable my mind went white. Lutz, holding his gathering basket, rushed back to where I was. What's wrong, mine? Faye stepped on them. He messed them up. Oh. The first half of the story I had put all into writing, more than half, really, had turned into mush beneath Faye and his friend's feet. The tablets had crumbled apart, and the footsteps covering them made the text unreadable. I had finally finished them. So mean! How hard do you think I worked to come here? How hard do you think it was for me to make this weak, sick body stronger? I even wrapped Lutz and Tully into this to finish them, and yet, kind of stupid, dumb idiots! I glared at Faye and the others as hard as I could, choking back sobs as tears streamed down my face. Rage coursed through my body as if to set my blood boiling, but somehow my mind was frighteningly calm. I knew on the inside I was being immature, but I couldn't calm myself down. Faye and his friends flinched from my glare and slowly backed away, trembling in fear. Uh-oh! Here comes the rainbow eye thing! That's when Hermana starts showing up. I was almost there. I was one step away from getting a book, and now it's all a mess. How are they going to make up for this? As I was beginning thinking of ways to cool my rage over my clay tablets being messed up, Tully came running over with a terrified look on her face, probably having heard my scream. Mine, what's wrong? She peered over to see my face, and immediately her expression twisted into one of fear, just like Faye's. What happened? You look really, really mad. She averted her eyes from me and looked around to assess the situation while consoling me. Mine, you can't let yourself get that mad. I'm sure they didn't mean to hurt your feelings, right? Whether or not they meant to hurt me, the ruined clay tablets wouldn't be coming back. My rage over all my efforts being wasted couldn't be calmed by Tully's words alone. Wait a minute. Are they already solid? If they are, then yes, they probably wouldn't be able to be fixed, but if they're still soft like clay, then she could just remold it and do it again, right? I'm guessing not. Whatever, I'm never gonna forgive them. With tears and snot trickling down my face, I glared with all my might at Faye and his friends as they quivered in terror before suddenly Lutz patted me on the back. I remember you saying you spent 3 months building up strength just so you could go to the forest and make clay tablets. I get why you're mad. I get why you don't want to forgive them. I really do. But no matter how mad you get, what's done is done. The only thing you can do is make them again. And, yeah, I'll help you. If we start right now, we can make it to the gate before it closes. I'll help mine, okay? Faye and the others feel bad about what they did, so they'll help, too. Right? I don't know if she actually did this in the anime, but I can imagine Tuli looking at the boys saying, right? Her encouraging them to say, yes, we will. Yeah, definitely. We didn't think they mattered that much to you. Sorry, seriously. Clinging to the lifesavers thrown to them by Lutz and Tuli, Faye and the others nodded their heads hard and hurriedly reached to the tablets they had been stepping on. Faye's apology and the assurance that we could make new ones before the gate closed made the anger drain out of me. Staying angry wouldn't be as productive as getting to work making new tablets. Okay, I'll make new ones. I more or less managed to finish writing the story on the old tablets, so my approach to making them wasn't flawed. I had to be satisfied with how much easier they were to make them papyrus. But I didn't forget to drive the point home to Faye and his cronies. Don't think any of you will get a second chance. Apparently, I reigned as the queen of the rumored top people you should never make angry rankings for some time. Okay, hang on. Dang. Okay, how far have I gotten? 21 minutes. Okay, I'll keep going. Clay tablets won't work. Oh, something happens. As expected by basically everyone, going to the forest, making clay tablets, and exploding with rage all took so much out of me that I ended up bedridden with a fever. Apparently I had murmured clay tablets under my breath over and over the whole time. I clenched my fists, resolved to go right to the forest to make more clay tablets, but Dad wouldn't let me. No way, not a chance. We gotta see how your health holds up. Wait until tomorrow, alright? Okay. Naturally, he wouldn't give me permission to do something as reckless as go straight to the forest the day after recovering from a fever. But still, he said I could go to the forest tomorrow if I didn't get another fever today, so I started preparing for tomorrow with excitement in my heart. First, I took a board from the storage room, whose true purpose I didn't know, and put it on the bottom of my basket for stability. I then took some torn-up cloths that Mom was intending to sew into rags and stealthily put them into my bag. With all that done, I could wrap the clay tablets up and bring them home with me. Okay, time to make tons and tons of clay tablets. I woke up in excitement the next morning, but it was raining hard. In fact, it was a torrential downpour, which was rare for this area. Things were so bad it was like a typhoon. We could hear the wind and rain even after tightly shutting our windows. No! Rain! In a world without weather forecast, we were at the mercy of Mother Nature's whims. Or rather, really, I was sick so much that I only ever left the house when my family said I could. Which meant, up till now, I had never had to worry about the weather. Visions of the clay tablets falling apart beneath the rain flashed in my mind. Although I had hidden them beneath some sturdy-looking shrubbery, they would definitely not survive the storm unharmed. My clay tablets are gonna turn into mush. Hold it, mind. Just where do you think you're going? To the forest. I immediately tried running outside without a second thought, but Mom grabbed the back of my neck and stopped me. What in the world are you thinking? You already get sick so easily, the storm would kill you. Do you not realize it's so bad we can't even go to the well? The sounds of the storm raged through our homes, despite the tightly shut windows, emphasizing just how bad the storm really was. I would never survive outside, even if even healthy adults hesitated to step outside to reach the well. I sunk to the floor. My clay tablets. Oh. Don't worry, mind. Everyone said they'll help you, so you'll be able to make new ones faster than before. You don't need to get super mad again. Tulu rubbed my head, consoling me. She really was a good older sister. The rare storm continued for 2 days, and it took another 2 days after that before we kids were allowed to go to the forest again. It was a bright and sunny morning, and everyone looked excited to visit the forest again after so long. And today was a day where apprentices didn't have work, so there were a lot more kids than usual, especially big ones. Lutz's older brother Ralph was going to the forest today. He had a large basket on his back and was carrying a bow. Hey, mine, feeling better? Hi, Ralph, I've been better, but the day Dad said I could go to the forest again, the storm hit. Now that's rough. Ralph rustled my hair and then went to see Tuli. Sup, Tuli? Ralph, it feels like it's been forever since we saw each other. Perhaps due to having started work as an apprentice, Ralph looked a lot more mature and confident in himself. And Tuli, who I had been cleaning up in preparation for her baptism, beamed an angelic smile. Uh-huh. Those two would definitely be a nice couple, I think. They're only kids. Not yet. Ralph and Tuli both care a lot about others, so I think they would be a good fit for each other. I watched the two of them grinning when suddenly Lutz put me over to him. Mind, get a grip. You gotta start at the front of the group since you walk so slow, remember? Right, sorry. The platoon of kids, myself included, walked on and pointed past the gate. What was normally a grassy wonderland had been scarred deeply by the storm of mud scattered everywhere. Does this world have financial assistance for natural disasters? I doubt it. I kept moving, looking around me in a dazed surprise. Suddenly something suddenly got in the way of my eyes. Surprised, I looked to the side and saw that Liz was waving his hands in front of my face. What? Something wrong? No, I was just wondering if you were actually awake. Hey, Mine, are you gonna make those, clay tablets again? What are they anyway? Even if I wasn't writing in Japanese, Lutz was illiterate. He had no idea what I was writing. Not to mention that his daily life involved no paper or writing whatsoever. There wasn't a single letter written anywhere in his home. He no doubt knew nothing of the splendor of media in general, with clay tablets just one of the mediums of recording information he had never encountered in his life. I began to teach Lutz, feeling an odd sense of responsibility to proselytize books and writing. Well, it's simple. They're things to write on. Like, if you have something you don't want to forget, you can write it down on them. That way, you can't forget it, right? If you store the tablet properly, you can look at it whenever you want. That's what clay tablets are for. They're just one medium of recording information out of many. Clay is so squishy that you can just use a finger to wipe away mistakes, and once you're done, you can harden them with fire. Don't you think that's amazing? Maybe due to how I said all that without pausing. Let's just tilted his head a bit, mouth hanging open. You lost me. Anyway, what'd you write down? I wrote a story. One my mom told me. Like, I won't forget it if I write it down, you know? What I really want are books, but there aren't any here, so I'll just have to make them myself. So that's what you really want to do, Mine? I thought about Liz's question and suddenly realized something. I had been thinking for a long time that I wanted to make books since they were too expensive for my poor family to own. But what I really wanted deep inside wasn't to make books. Not quite. What I really want is to live a life surrounded by books. I want tons and tons of new books to be made every month. I want to buy all of them, and I want to spend my life reading them. So basically you want books. Yes, I want them right now so bad, but they're too expensive to buy. They're out of reach for me, so what can I do but make them myself? Paper is also too expensive, so I'll make clay tablets, write stories on them, and harden them. With that, Lutz finally clapped his hands together in understanding. See, you're making replacements for books right now, huh? Yeah, things didn't go well last time, but that's the past. I'll make sure it works out this time. Alright, I'll help out. Lutz was willing to go this far for me just because I shared a few recipes, which made me want to help him too. Okay then, what do you want to do, Lutz? It sounds like you have something you really want to do yourself. I want to go to other cities, you know? How the bards and traveling merchants go to all sorts of places and know all sorts of things? I want to do that too. That sounds really cool. Speaking of which, back in my Arano days, I often dreamed of traveling the world to visit all sorts of foreign libraries and read their books. Thoughts of that now unobtainable dream flashed through my mind, and soon I lowered my eyes. What the heck? The fuck? You really think that? I mean, I'd be leaving the city, you know? Traveling seems wonderful. You can go all over the place. It seems like so much fun, like I actually dreamed of traveling all over the earth and visiting tons of libraries. I don't know why I was right about saying that, then. Mine, you're definitely gonna do what you want to do. What's stopping you from doing the same, Lutz? My head was so full of my Arano dreams and wishes that I wasn't actually looking at him. I didn't see what kind of face he was making. Once we finally reached the dry patch of the road, we walked on and soon came upon the forest. The slightly open part right inside was our meeting place. Alright, let's get together, everyone. If you're a little kid, don't go too far. Always stay where you can see the meeting place, alright? The larger kids made sure the little kids understood the rules before taking their bows and jogging deeper into the forest. The little kids glanced furtively in my direction. I was already exhausted just from walking to the forest, but I immediately began investigating the area to see what became of my clay tablets. Does anyone know where the tablets are? I couldn't find the tree the other kids had marked for me. At first I thought I had just forgotten where it was since it had been several days since then, but everyone else was looking around too, just as lost as I was. We definitely put the marker on a tree around here, didn't we? Faye's cronies all nodded together. He was pointing at a place where several trees had fallen from the storm. Well, we've got an idea on where they are, so we just gotta search. Once Let's began digging through the shrubbery, everyone else hesitantly joined in and searched with them. And it's not just Faye's friends, but everyone. They're all such nice kids. Hey, ain't these it? It took a lot of work to find the marker, but Faye waved me over while squatting by some bushes. I dashed over there as fast as I could and found clumps of clay stuck together without any visible letters on them. Of course. As expected, the rain had messed them up so much that all my work had been erased. The tablets have returned to their original form. Back to square one. I didn't break them this time, right? I know that. Faye hurriedly covered for himself, but he didn't have to. I knew it wasn't his fault. I also knew everyone was buzzing around me, uncertain of what to do, not knowing whether they should console me or not. I knew I was stressing everyone out, but I couldn't stop my tears from flowing out. As I sobbed quietly to myself, I heard footsteps approach. They stopped, and then moments later, someone hit me lightly on the head. Mind, if you've got the time to cry, you've got the time to make more tablets. Litz's voice broke through to me. He was right, I just had to try again, while Faye and the others were still willing to help me. I wiped away my snot and looked up. Right. I won't let the world beat me. I first failed because of Faye. I then failed because of a storm. I've just experienced human and natural disasters. What else could the world throw at me? No matter what happens, I'll finish these tablets. The clay I needed was right in front of me, so I just had to squish them into shapes to start writing again. I knew where to get more if I ran out. Compared to where I was cluelessly searching for clay on my own, things were great. This is okay. I'm not back at square one at all. From these failures, I've learned that I either need to finish the tablets all at once on a sunny day, or I need to work in a building with a roof. Today's weather is nice, and I have 3 helpers with more than enough strength and energy to spare. Faye and his cronies are only helping because of the promise they made out of fear, but still. With this many helpers, I should be able to finish the clay tablets in no time. I only need Les, Faye, and Faye's friends' help. You can go focus on gathering, Thule. Okay, good luck, everyone. Yeah. Thule's encouragement brightened my mood, and I got right to work making new clay tablets. I had Faye and his first crony dig out more clay. Then I had Lutz and Faye's second crony squeeze the clay into the shape of tablets. My job was just using a thin stick to carve letters into them. Things are going perfectly. I need 10 of those, 10 clay tablets to write the whole story, so once you've made that many, you can go start gathering. Thanks. Yeah. Faye and the others lined up tablets one by one in front of me, finishing all 10 as soon as possible before running off to gather. And yet Lutz began digging out more clay. You're not going to go gather? Raoul's here today, so I could stick around and help you instead. Well, I have enough clay, so why don't you practice writing on the ground? The ground was soft due to all the rain, so I took my stick and carved Lutz into it, using the letters of this world. What's that? Your name, Lutz. You won't be able to travel the world if you can't write your own name, right? People of our city could go in and out of the gate without much fanfare, but apparently strangers entering new towns were asked their name and had to write it down. Otto, a former traveling merchant, had told me that. The same was true for our city. Any strangers were checked quite severely before being let inside. If Lutz wanted to visit other cities someday, he had to at least learn how to write his own name. Hey, mine, this is, my name? If you want to travel the world, you should start learning your letters. Lutz started to practice writing his name on the ground with his green eyes sparkling. Meanwhile, I continued to write a story I had learned in this world in Japanese. I will definitely finish making this book. I chanted to myself over and over. Done! I had finished writing one of the stories Mom had told me. I wanted to keep going and make Bedtime with Mom a short story collection out of clay tablets. It will be a book packed with stories I had learned for the first time while coming to this world. I wrapped the finished clay tablets in the rags and stacked them carefully inside my basket, making sure not to break them or rub the words off. Sorry. Once they were all inside, I let out a heavy sigh. My eyes turned upward and tears dripped out. I had finished my first book. Really, clay tablets weren't a sophisticated enough medium to really call books, but they were the closest thing I had in this world. I had begun life in this world at the end of fall, and spring was now ending. It took a very, very long time for me to get my first book, but now that I had made one, I got the feeling that my life here had finally stabilized. I can read books again. I can read books in this world, so I think I'll be fine. Since I had been reborn in a world where books were too expensive for poor people to read, and I had been reborn into a weak body that got sick over nothing, I never really cared about pushing myself too hard. I didn't care if I ended up dying. This sickly child's body didn't feel like mine, and I couldn't imagine living in a world without books. I had no attachment to anything. But now that I had a book, I had something I wanted to take care of. I got the feeling that I had finally found something worth living for in this world. I had found my path in this life. You finished mine? I finished thanks to everyone's help. Even if Les and Tuli's feelings were for mine, not me, they had in fact helped me make this book. I took off the rag and showed Tuli and Les the finished clay tablets. Mine? What's written on these? This is the story of the Star Children, the one Mom told me on that first night. First? Tuli furrowed her brows in confusion. It's the first story that I remember. Mom had whispered the story to me in a quiet voice the night I first became mine, when I had such a high fever I couldn't sleep. Her voice filled with love, but it felt to me that her love was for someone else, not me. I didn't accept having become mine, so Mom's feelings and words went in one ear and out the other. They just made my confusion worse. Nothing in this world hurt more than Mom's love, for it worsened my sense of isolation. And yet, when I decided to make my own books, the story she told me was the first thing that came to mind. I got the feeling that by turning Mom's stories into a book, I would be able to accept the love it contained within them. I really want to write down all the stories Mom told me so I don't forget them. But won't the letters just disappear again? Tuli looked worried, but I just smiled. They will if I leave them like this, which is why I heat them up to harden them. Then we can read Mom's stories whenever we want. About half a year had passed since I began life in this world, and finally, for the first time, I smiled a truly sincere smile. It would have been beautifully emotional for things to end right there, but sadly, I was not so lucky. I wanted to heat the tablets up as soon as I got home, so waited for Mom to be distracted and immediately put the tablets on the hearth. Whereupon they exploded. What? How did that happen? I'm not kidding. You may think I'm just telling a joke, but it really happened. I heated them on the tablet and on the hearth, and boom! My first book turned to dust and rubble. I just stood there in a daze, and before I could figure out what went wrong, Mom yelled at me and made me swear not to make clay tablets a second time. Wait, what? Did I just get thrown back to square one for real? Well, emotionally speaking, I feel a lot better, so maybe it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back? What should I do now? Okay, I think that's enough for this part, so I will see everybody next time.